moving on, LSU football is where we'll start today, and the Tigers are still as 2.5-point home underdog versus the Razorbacks this week. And much has been made about the quarterback situation at LSU already this week, and I'm sure we will continue to talk about it going forward. Coach O was off the bench this morning and really kind of officially laid the plan out. Max Johnson's going to start. Garrett Nussmeier will play. There was a little confusion yesterday at the Monday press conference from Coach O where in one answer he said that, but in another answer he talked about splitting reps 50-50, and then if Max played better, he'd start. If Garrett played better, he'd start. But it will be Max Johnson to start. Garrett Nussmeier will get into the game at some point and will play meaningful snaps in this game as well. And that's kind of where may the best man win, I feel like, comes in even more. One thing I'm most interested in is when Garrett gets into the game is what it looks like from maybe a play calling standpoint. Garrett seems to be more mobile than Max. And I'm curious if LSU and Jake Peetz, if they try to take advantage of that, quite frankly, against Arkansas, because you can see that Max Johnson has some mobility to him, probably about as much as Joe Burrow did. LSU utilized it a lot more with Joe Burrow than they have with Max Johnson. Now you have a guy like Garrett Nussmeier who absolutely is a mobile quarterback and I think can arguably be called maybe even a threat to run. Do they take advantage of that, or is it really kind of just him in the same offense? Is there any tangible difference in play calling when they interchange the two quarterbacks?
LSU fans are clearly just hoping that Garrett Nussmeier, I think, has just a better feel for the game. And I'm happy you brought up that point, Musso, of Max running the ball, or really the lack of Max running the ball, because how much did we talk about that added dimension when we were comparing Max Johnson and Miles Brennan over the offseason and talking about, who would win the starting job. Max Johnson was supposed to be a running threat, but that was just a total myth, apparently, at least if you look at the numbers this season, Musso. And I know the stats are a little bit skewed. They count sack yardage, but last year, in just 2 starts, he played in a couple more games, but throughout 2020, Max Johnson ran the ball 54 times, 119 yards for an average of 2.2 yards per carry. This season, all season, he's ran the ball 58 times, negative 18 yards. And I think there's been some plays to be made there for Max Johnson. There's a lot of times on the Spanish broadcast where I would say, Max threw an incomplete pass, or Max got a few yards on this short completion, but he had a big lane to run and he did not take it. And Nussmeier, supposedly, from what I've heard, has a stronger arm too than Max Johnson. But Max Johnson's problems, Musso, I don't think has been his lack of arm strength or his lack of mobility. It's just been he's had a bad feel for the game, especially in that Alabama game. And you're counting on a freshman to have a better feel for the game, which might be a risky formula. But I think that's kind of what LSU fans want to see out of Garrett Nussmeier as opposed to Max Johnson.
Yeah, as far as the arm strength goes, a lot of that can be solved by timing of getting the pass out. Joe Burrow didn't have the strongest arm in the world, but he was very effective throwing a deep ball. He was very effective throwing the ball down the field over the middle just because timing with the receivers and the offense was there. So I see your point there, absolutely, on having a better feel for the game, and hopefully that will be there. I wonder how immediate it is, because you've seen Nussmeier 3 times, and each time the outcome of the game has been decided. 2 in favor of LSU, 1 not in favor of LSU. Ironically, the one that was not in favor of LSU was his best performance. It left little to be desired, honestly, when he went in there against McNeese State and against Central Michigan. Now, the offense was still trying to find its way. The offensive line is a lot better now than they were then. I don't think that's even really a debate. But he completed 4 of 14 passes in those 2 games. You saw him against Ole Miss, and he did provide that spark. He was very efficient. Led to scoring drives. Again, the outcome wasn't in doubt, but he made it look a little bit more respectable. And I think that just fuels the fire for more, wanting to see more out of him. But what does it look like? It is going to be important to remember he's a true freshman, and that's a hard position to play as a true freshman. What Max Johnson did at Florida last year is kind of the outlier normally in that situation. It normally looks a little bit more like maybe – I'm trying to think of one that was, I could say Brandon Harrison 2015, but that's not fair because that was just, they got routed. And that's also kind of an outlier. It's somewhere in between those two of what it normally looks like. So I know expectation is going to be high for Garrett Nussmeier, but it is going to be important to kind of keep it within perspective.
Yes, and if he does play, it looks like he's not going to start. And I'm happy you brought up that game. Brandon Harris against Auburn, 2014, a game where LSU got destroyed. 41-7 on the road. Brandon Harris in the game went 3 for 14, 58 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And if I remember correctly, at least 40 of those yards were on one play on a big pass to Malachi Dupre. He looked like a deer in headlights. And I think Nussmeier is in a little bit better position to succeed. Like you said, a little different, apples and oranges. And the team around him is playing a lot better than they did for Max Johnson in the first couple of games. Similar to how they played a lot better when Max Johnson was in there last year as opposed to TJ Finley. They have the running game going. The defense seems to have found some confidence despite the fact they're playing without a million starters on that side of the ball. I think Durante Jones called an awesome game against Alabama. So the rest of the team kind of has it going. Like I said yesterday on yesterday's show, I thought the rest of the team played well enough to beat Alabama. Max Johnson just left way too many plays on the field out there, Musso, and I think it's clear that Garrett Nussmeier, especially based on what we've heard from Coach O since about the conversations with Doug Nussmeier and with Garrett, it's clear that Garrett was sitting on the sidelines during that game and thinking that could be me. Yes, I'm risking burning my red shirt, but that could be me in that situation, and I could make those plays. He's going to get a chance to prove that this Saturday, but it's a really good Arkansas defense, Musso. They're down a few guys on that group, including DJ Catalon, the safety, but you still have some really good players. You still have an experienced coach in Barry Odom, and it's going to be a challenge playing this Arkansas Razorbacks at home on Saturday. We'll see if Garrett steps up.